Hi, I'm Stewart Spinks and welcome to episode 349 of my podcast, Beekeeping Short and Sweet. Buying queens for replacement or increase can be a very expensive pastime. Why not instead consider raising a few homegrown queens yourself? It's not that tricky and it can be hugely rewarding. Listen in to hear how I'm approaching our queen rearing this year. Beekeeping Short and Sweet, a beekeeping podcast for the inquisitive beekeeper with a short attention span. A beekeeper, in fact, just like me. This week's podcast is brought to you, in part, by High Five Multi-Guard. So,
when you need a little peace of mind that your bees are safe from dangers of all kind, pesticides, hornets, wasps and mice are no match for High Five. The High Five Multi-Guard is the best one in town. Keeps your bees safe all year round. The ultimate solution has been found. It's High Five.
The High Five Multi-Guard fits nearly all beehives and makes beekeeping much easier. High Five.
hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm still tapping my toes to that little jingle. Anyway, what a damp week we've had, changing the subject. The weather finally changed to a much wetter feel, and the on and off showers that arrived have been very welcome actually. I'm speaking as a gardener and allotmenteer. It's nice to be able to leave the watering can next to the rainwater butt and let nature work its magic. It's amazing how quickly plants and weeds grow when they get some warm sunshine and a decent amount of rain. The flower bed plants in my front garden have nearly doubled in size and are making the most of the resources they've been given. It's very gratifying to see my hard work here develop into something that's going to look more amazing as the summer ticks by. Right now I have a line of crimson-coloured roses in flower at the front of the garden, and they look spectacular. OK, I can hear you all mumbling now. This is supposed to be a beekeeping podcast, not a gardening podcast. And of course you're right. But what happens in the front garden is indicative of what's happening out in the apiaries and the hedgerows of Norwich and Norfolk for me. It's also a sign of how things might be moving along further down in Essex, where the borage has been sown and is growing rapidly. I mentioned the June gap last time, and here at my local apiaries we've hit the buffers in terms of the spring nectar flow. Has anyone noticed an increase in robbing? I certainly have, and I really need the brambles to get going because the spring nectar flow has definitely finished, and now we await the summer flowering plants. The rain we've had that has been so useful in watering my garden plants will have had the same effect on the various trees, shrubs and plants around the countryside and around the apiaries, most notably and somewhat repetitively from me, the brambles. These fabulous plants produce copious amounts of nectar, given the right conditions, and a drink of water right now is going to boost that nectar flow nicely. Plants in drought conditions are simply not going to be able to flourish and offer up that tempting reward of nectar for insects coming in to, for the most part, accidentally pollinate these flowers. Give them a nourishing drink and all of a sudden they have plenty of moisture to draw on to fill up their nectaries, ready to tempt insects from far and wide, and of course our honeybees. Locally, I'm seeing brambles begin to flower, and that's really important for me because we've seen several colonies quite low on food stores. One that was so close to starving that we had to add a frame of food from another colony. Please, if you're taking off a spring crop of honey, do check to make sure your bees have enough stored food in their brood boxes to see them through to the summer nectar flow. It's probably only a week or so away, but in that time you could easily lose a large colony of honeybees to starvation. Brambles also produce a fantastic honey, full of the taste of summer fruits. At least that's my view. It's probably my favourite honey, if I was forced to choose. I suspect there's a touch of nostalgia there too, because blackberry honey was probably the first summer crop of honey I ever produced, or rather, my bees ever produced, and that first home-produced jar of honey is a very special thing indeed. On the subject of blackberry honey, if you're looking to take a crop, get those supers at the ready. I've seen a noticeable shift in the timing of this nectar flow from perhaps late June in years past to, well, early June now. It can be easily missed if you're not prepared for it, so do have those supers at the ready to go on soon. Not that this year we have many full-size colonies ready to produce a crop of honey for us. This, of course, is by design an enforced process of increase following the reduction in colonies last year and, of course, our winter losses recovery. We've got apiaries full of bees, but mostly in nuke boxes or with young queens that we're waiting on to start laying eggs. It feels like a nervous time for me, especially as we've had a couple of drone-laying queens pop up recently. That, along with 2 egg-laying worker colonies, and it feels like a bit of a knockback. So, yes, it's a little nervy, and as a beekeeper wanting to know if I have a laying queen in our nukes, I'm getting a little impatient to see. The timing of checking for a laying queen is important for a couple of reasons. You don't want to be opening up nuke boxes or hives or mating boxes frequently and disturbing the bees and the virgin queen within. Yet it's important to get that confirmation as soon as possible, so any failed queen matings can be rectified before the box of bees is lost to maybe drone cells or egg-laying workers, as we've encountered. Wherever possible, I try to wait for 3 full weeks between the point of a sealed queen cell and a quick check for eggs. And maybe that's too soon. I probably don't see the queen cell on the day that it's capped, so it's probably 9 or maybe even 10 days old when I catch up with it. Given the virgin queen should emerge somewhere around day 16, I'm about a week away from emergence at the point that I confirm a sealed queen cell. Fast forward another week and we should have an emerged virgin queen. Once the new queen has emerged, there follows a period of time where she will initially feed herself, grabbing some honey and pollen from wherever she can, and you'll possibly see that if you're being impatient and need a sneaky look. Within a few days, though, workers will start to feed her, and that licking and grooming process that the workers adopt in looking after their queen begins. During this time, the queen will also strengthen her flight muscles and take several orientation flights to ensure when she does take that treacherous journey to mate, if successful, she can find her way back to the correct hive. Virgin queens are notoriously tricky to spot, mainly due to the fact that they still have immature ovaries and a comparatively short abdomen, looking very similar to worker bees, particularly if your workers are genetically large. We have a wide range of worker sizes in different colonies, and it's very striking when you move from a colony that has small workers into a colony that has very large workers. Thinking back to our virgin queen, she becomes sexually mature around day 5 or 6 after emerging. So all of the changes and development that I've been describing have taken another week or thereabouts. So now we're 2 full weeks past the point that I spotted a sealed queen cell in my colony, or when I popped that sealed queen cell into a mating nuke, whichever scenario we're thinking of. This obviously also applies to the colony that has swarmed, and a single queen cell has been left by the beekeeper in the hope of a successful replacement queen for their hive. Once the queen has returned to the hive following that mating flight, she needs a little time to settle down into egg laying. So let's assume another 2 to 3 days for this to happen. We're now well into the 3rd week, and as beekeepers, we're getting a little twitchy to see if we have a new egg-laying queen. But all of this mating scenario requires the right weather conditions. Recently, here for me, the weather has been a little unsettled, and that can really impact on whether mating flights take place or not. In an ideal scenario, we need a warmish day, maybe above 18 degrees Celsius. Light winds help enormously. Anything greater than maybe 15 to 20 kilometres per hour, and those mating flights might not happen. And if it's cloudy, there might not be as many drones out and about as there would be on a sunny day. So again, we're doing that kind of farmer thing, constantly looking at the weather. Now obviously we're looking for ideal conditions to maximise the chances of a successful mating. Virgin queens will go out and mate in less than favourable weather conditions, but it does reduce their chances of a positive outcome. So maybe we need to keep an eye on the weather and add poor mating weather days to the time frame before we go back in to see if we have a laying queen. Maybe that's as much as another week to add. So what's that, 3 weeks, 4 weeks? From the time that we spotted that sealed queen cell, probably 4 weeks. Add to this the fact that once eggs are laid, workers are going to take 21 days to emerge, and it's almost 2 months that have passed. A very good reason for doing the best we can to prevent swarming, if nothing else. So as we fast approach the month of June, and I'm a little bit late to the party for queen rearing, but if we can get some production underway now, we should have laying queens for the beginning of July, and these will go into additional nukes to overwinter. So the choice now is what method to use. In one of the videos that I produced last week, I rattled off a list of queen rearing methods I've used in the past. And that's leaving out methods of creating queens from splits such as artificial swarms or vertical splits. Here I'm thinking mainly of producing multiple queen cells from the parent or donor colony. This colony is the one that we choose to be the best average colony with traits that we favour. And really it doesn't matter if you have 2, 10 or even 1,000 colonies. There will always be one that you look at and say to yourself, that's a really nice colony. They just seem to tick all the boxes. Mild temper, calm on the comb, good honey production, slow to swarm. In fact, whatever you put top of the list, you're likely to find one colony that's better than the other if you only have 2, or better than the rest if you have more. Once the decision is made, you'll need to think about the amount of equipment you'll need for those queen cells. No use producing 50 queen cells to only find you have 10 nuke boxes available to place them in. So be sensible and manage with what you have. But which method to choose? Well, with our John Harding setup, we can introduce any number of queen cell frames as long as they fit into a standard Langstroth brood frame. A Miller frame is a nice one to start out with. That zigzag cut through an existing brood frame loaded with eggs and young larvae will soon produce any number of queen cells. Just be sure to crush cells leaving just one cell with a gap to the next one. This will make it so much easier when they produce queen cells and you need to cut them out once they've been capped. One of my favourite methods is the alley method. Good old Henry Alley came up with this one. It involves cutting a strip or strips of cells out of a brood frame and attaching them to a bar halfway down the brood frame and along the underside of the top bar. The cells then point downwards and the queen cells are drawn down in the usual way. Just like the Miller method, crush cells between the chosen cells that you have for queen rearing, and it makes it easier to remove them once they've been sealed. I really like this method, it's one of my favourites, and the frame I use is so simple to make up that even I can do it. I'll show you the frame in one of our queen rearing videos soon. If you want it even easier, maybe the Nico or Genta system is the one for you. A trapped queen lays eggs into tiny cell cups. These are removed into holders which are attached to a frame, each component fitting into the other to make it very simple to build up a queen rearing frame. And the beauty of this system is you don't need to touch the cells at all. Everything just fits together. A less popular method maybe is perhaps the cell punch method. Individual cells are punched out of a brood frame using a cell punch frame, something you can buy from places like Thorn beehives, for instance. I don't hear many beekeepers extolling the virtues of this method, possibly because, like me, they've tried it, failed, and then moved on to another more reliable method. Perhaps if we have time, we'll give it another try, maybe. Finally, if you want to get all professional queen breeder about it, why not try grafting into cell cups? It's a bit like most things in life. The more you practice, the better at it you become. I find for me, I tend to probably damage more young larvae in the transfer stage because I don't have that technique right or the muscle memory for scooping out those very young larvae without damaging them. This inevitably means perhaps more queen cells fail than I would want, and actually why go to the trouble of grafting when a Nico or Genta cell will do the job for you, or a Miller or Alley frame means that you never have to touch the larvae. Horses for courses, as they say, and most methods have their benefits and drawbacks, I suspect. Personally, I'm going with the Alley method next week. We have a Nico frame to prime and use, and maybe, if we get time, I'll dig out the cell punch frame, as I said, to remind myself why I don't use that method once more. Let me know what method of queen rearing you use and why. I'd love to hear about the highs and lows of your queen rearing sessions. Well, that's it for this week. For all of you who haven't yet signed up to my Patreon page, I, together with Steph, have been creating beekeeping content for many years now. And if you're looking for some straightforward, down-to-earth tips and techniques, help and advice, then do take a look at my Patreon page. We have over 1,600 individual beekeeping posts, videos and podcasts filled with useful and timely help and advice. My approach is pragmatic and calm, sometimes entertaining, but always with help and support for beekeepers at the heart of what I do. I keep my videos short and concise wherever possible, no waffle, no flannel, just honest beekeeping advice from years of keeping bees. Take a look and join me for the new 2025 beekeeping season. It'll cost you less than a jar of honey, and you never know, there may be something there that will help you improve your beekeeping. Head over to Google and search for Patreon and the Norfolk Honey Company.